On one incredible night in 1964, four icons of sports, music, and activism gathered to celebrate one of the biggest upsets in boxing history. When underdog Cassius Clay, soon to be Muhammad Ali, defeats the heavyweight champion of the world at Miami Convention Hall, Clay celebrates the event with three of his friends, Malcolm X, Sam Cooke, and Jim Brown. Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again with a brand new movie review, and today we're talking about One Night in Miami, which will be having a limited theatrical run December 25th, but will be available for everyone to see on Amazon Prime January 15th of 2021. Really excited to talk about this film and let you all know what I thought about it in this spoiler-free review. Before we dive into it, as you can see on the screen now, make sure you're following me on all my other social media accounts like Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. All those links can be found in the description below. If you are new to the channel, welcome to this community. Consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. That way you can get the alert from when I drop new content. It would mean a lot to me if you all can share this video and give it a thumbs up. It helps out the channel, but I also appreciate the support. And in the comments, let me know if you're excited for this film. And once you all have seen it, let's discuss your positives, your negatives, your thoughts on the performances, your thoughts on the directorial debut of Regina King. Let's discuss it all in the comments below. So speaking of Regina King, I don't know if you all know this or not, but I am a big fan of hers. I think she's an incredible actress in movies and shows. She's directed a bunch of TV episodes and great in doing so. But now she's making her directorial debut, and you could have told me this movie was about the creation of the phone book. I would have been watching it because I'm such a big fan of hers. I love this cast. I love the trailer, and now here we are discussing it. Starting off with the positives. As I was watching this movie, it was so wild to me just thinking about this challenging year of 2020 and thinking about the stuff that went down with the injustices and the Black Lives Matter movement and how celebrities and athletes and singers were using their platforms to voice their opinion on what was going on, and connecting it to this movie that takes place in 1964 and looking at our main characters of Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, Sam Cooke, Jim Brown, how they were looked at to speak up and use their platform in regards to the civil rights movement. And just thinking about it, that was 1964. We're in 2020, and a lot of that stuff is still going on. So that the film just really connects to me and hits home for me. And it was just so fascinating seeing these four iconic black men, all at different points and pivotal points of their lives, and how during the civil rights movement, how they were looked upon to voice their opinion is just so great and just so fascinating, so compelling. I mentioned it a couple in my last review for a Netflix film, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which was a play transformed and created to be a movie, and I thought it was flawless in that translation, and the same could be said about this film. I love how Regina King brought in Kemp Powers, who wrote this play, One Night in Miami, and also is the screenwriter for this film, so he had to adapt his own work. And Kemp Powers, whether it be this movie, you know, him being the co-writer and director of Soul for Pixar, he's someone to keep an eye out for. He's so fantastic. The script is so rich and so captivating, and the discussions had amongst these four men were incredible. Some of the best stuff I've seen this year. And speaking of those men, the performances are everything. They're breathtaking. You have actors playing these iconic characters like Kingsley Ben-Adir as Malcolm X, Eli Goree as Muhammad Ali, Hodge as Jim Brown, and Leslie Odom Jr. as Sam Cooke. They could have... This is very intimidating. You're playing these four iconic characters, and it wasn't an imitation of these bigger-than-life characters. There was the cadence. It was the swagger, the charisma that really brought these characters to life. Starting off with Eli Goree, who plays Muhammad Ali, or at this point in the film, Cassius Clay, 22-year-old phenom boxer taking over the boxing industry. He truly embodied the greatest of all time, Muhammad Ali. He did such a great job of having that swagger, but having that vulnerability of a very pivotal time of Muhammad Ali converting to be a Muslim, and the conversations had amongst Muhammad Ali at that point in his life. And I thought he did a great job, speaking of Eli Goree, of having great chemistry amongst the entire cast. But the relationship he had and the brotherhood he had and the trust he had in Malcolm X was just such great chemistry amongst those two. And again, I've never seen Eli Goree in anything else, but this man is someone to keep an eye out for. Speaking of someone to keep an eye out for, Aldis Hodge, I think of the words like consistent, reliable, everything I've seen him in. He's just a knockout actor. You know, he plays Jim Brown, one of the greatest running backs in NFL history. And I love the stoic nature in his performance, and I love his character storyline regarding he's put in a box. People just look at him as a football player, right? It's the line that news reporter said about LeBron James a couple years ago, just dribble and shut up, right? And that's kind of the way that the media and people looked at Jim Brown, like, you're a football player. You don't need to be doing nothing else. You don't need your voice to be heard. But seeing him want to break out of that box, I love the performance by what we get from the character Jim Brown. But my two favorite performances in this movie come from Kingsley Ben-Adir as Malcolm X and Leslie Odom Jr. as Sam Cooke. They were incredible. They had some of the best scenes in the entire movie for them two, and their back and forth, how Malcolm X looked at Sam Cooke as someone that probably has the biggest platform out of every one of these four friends, because it's music, and music can go across the world. Football isn't always looked upon in different parts of the world. Same goes with, boxing, but Sam's music, the King of Soul, can be heard across the world. And Malcolm X looks at Sam and says, listen, Sam, you're not speaking about the black struggle. You're not speaking about what's going on in the civil rights movement. You're not using your platform to your advantage. On the reverse of that, Sam's looking at Malcolm X and speaking about, well, what you're preaching is nothing. You're spewing hate. So this there back and forth, the conversations about how you should be able to reach a certain audience, how you should use your black power, how you should use your influence, the stuff that they talked about in this film. And those two characters were just incredible to me. Going into Sam Cooke and Leslie playing Sam Cooke, this man's voice, he has a voice of an angel. I thought his performance was incredible, and the singing was incredible. When it comes to Kingsley as Malcolm X, probably my second favorite portrayal of Malcolm X, behind Denzel Washington and my favorite Spike Lee film, Malcolm X. But man, Kingsley was incredible. The characteristics of Malcolm X, who at that point of his life was looked at as a man that was just full of hate, but you see a little bit of that in this film regarding his position of power and his mindset of, the community that was going on, everything that was going on, the paranoia that he had during that time, protecting his family. You see the vulnerability in the character in this role. And I think, to me, Kingsley is the lead in this movie. He has the most character development in Malcolm X. And I thought all the performances were great, but man, Malcolm X and Kingsley was just incredible. And speaking of the star, the MVP, the standout, Regina King, I was so impressed by her, because I just think of her career when I first saw her in 95's Friday, and the year after that, A Thin Line Between Love and Hate, and, looking at her performance in Ray and Bill Street and Talk, and seeing her in two of my favorite shows of all time, Leftovers and Watchmen. She is like a once-in-a-generational type of just talented person altogether, and her direction in this movie is phenomenal. The way she truly captures the emotion in the dialogue, and is so captivating. We're literally only in a handful of locations, and the majority of this film takes place in a hotel room. And I was so captivated watching what was going on. She truly, again, captures the emotion that was going on amongst these men in this critical time in their lives. And the way she puts it together, the shot selections that she has in this film, the ending of this film is so powerful. Regina King knocked out of the park. The acting was great. The writing was great. The direction was great. The subject matter, the conversations being had amongst these men were incredible. The set design, the hair and makeup, the soundtrack, all of it comes together. But there are some criticisms that I have about the film. I mentioned how I thought all the performances were incredible, but Jim Brown's story, I wish, was a little bit more in the forefront. Again, this is a pivotal part of Jim Brown's career. He's known as, at this point in his career, the best athlete in football. And him making a particular career change, which I won't give you guys any spoilers if you're not familiar with Jim Brown, but I wish his story was a little bit more in the storyline. He was more of a background player. Again, great performance by the actor, but I wish we would have gotten a little bit more of Jim Brown's story. And then when it comes to another thing that comes to my criticisms, the film is great, top to bottom, great pacing, but the beginning of the movie was fine. I thought the rest of the film was excellent, but the beginning of the movie, we're introduced to the different characters. We see Muhammad Ali and him, getting into a certain fight and having some type of ego being in the forefront. We see what's going on with Malcolm X and his kind of paranoia and what is going on with him and his brothers. We see what's going on with, Sam Cooke at this point of his career, and also, like I mentioned, Jim Brown. But I wish that, the way that the film kind of introduced us to the character, the film to me doesn't pick up until they all come together. It's like about 30 minutes into the film. Again, the first half is fine, just not as great as the exceptional second and third act of this movie. So those are my criticisms. Before I give you all my overall thoughts and give you my score and let you know if it's worth checking out, make sure, if you haven't already, to like this video, share this video, leave your thoughts in the comments, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. That way you can stay up to date with all my content. With that being said, let me share with you all my overall thoughts and my score from one night in Miami. So overall, One Night in Miami is a must-see film. The chemistry amongst the cast is incredible. Kingsley Ben-Adir as Malcolm X, Eli Goree as Muhammad Ali, Hodge as Jim Brown, Leslie Odom Jr. as Sam Cooke all do justice to these iconic figures. Regina King's direction was nothing short of excellent, as well as the script by Kemp Powers. The film manages to give you a riveting story about four powerful black men as they question what black power looks like to them, as well as how important it was for these men to use their platforms to engage within the black community and use their voice during these trying times. This film's message of coming together as a people is so important and resonates more than ever in today's world. With that being said, I'm going to give One Night in Miami a 4.8 out of 5. I can't recommend you all to check this out enough. Again, it will be in theaters December 25th in limited release. So if you have the ability to see it, if you feel safe to go see it, I recommend you all do so. But it will be available on Amazon Prime January 15th of 2021. And I really recommend you all give this a watch. And when you do, let me know what you thought of the film. The performances, who was your favorite performance in this film? Let's discuss it. Regina King, what do you think of her as a director? What do you think of the script? Let's discuss it all in the comments below. As always, hope you all enjoyed this review. Make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can stay up to date with my content. Hope you're staying safe, and we'll see you on the next video.